It's my pleasure to invite CIO of KeyBank, Amy Brady, to have a conversation on these lines. Amy. Thank you, Amy.
Great to be here. I think I stuck out. Could you tell the client in the room?
It was not by design, by the way. So, Amy, you have been the CIO for KeyBank for almost a decade.
Yeah, a little bit more, actually.
A little bit more. A quick intro of yourself, please.
Yeah, so great to be here. So I'm Amy Brady, and yes, I joined KeyBank about 13 years ago. And prior to that, I was with Bank of America for a mere 25 years. So I have a little bit of experience in financial services. At KeyBank, I'm responsible for all of our technology organization, so from front to back. I also have the privilege of running all of our shared service back office operations. So think loan servicing, deposit processing, collections. I also run our intelligent automation center and our contact center, so every voice contact that our clients have with the enterprise. I have our chief data and analytics officer who reports to me for the enterprise security services, which is in a bank, fraud, AML, physical security, cyber security, all the things that keep you up at night. And on top of that, I have the joy of running all of our real estate portfolio, just to add a little bit to it. But keeps me busy, and I love it.
That's very short intro, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, anyway. So actually, Amy, let's start our conversation with the same question that Ravi got this morning in CNBC from Sarah Eisen. So on one side, we are navigating the biggest tech transformation of our lifetimes. On the other side, we have this global economic uncertainty and geopolitical tensions. So how are you, or how is KeyBank navigating this volatile environment? And what does it mean? What does it mean to your priorities and spending patterns and things like that?
Yeah, I wish I, like Ravi, had a crystal ball and how all this is going to end up. But look, I think we in general in financial services are optimistic, cautiously optimistic about this year. On one hand, we do believe the administration will be lessening regulatory burden across multiple industries, including financial services, which is a good thing. Because a disproportionate amount of our spend has had to go towards regulatory requirements over the past several years. For those of you who don't know, KeyBank, obviously, we are one of the largest top 20 banks in the United States, but if you are not in one of our geographies, you may not have heard of us, and so we are one of the largest regional banks in the United States, and so regional banking has been a little difficult the past couple of years. So we're excited about that part. For our clients right now, much like for Cognizant, there's a little bit of uncertainty based on what's going on in Washington. And so we are seeing clients came into the year with optimism, a little bit of caution right now in executing transactions, but they believe that there is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. And if we could settle on things like tariffs and things like that, it might make some of our clients decide to enter into the waters a little bit faster. So we remain optimistic for the year ahead. But it is going to be a year not unlike, just like the last 5 years, with a lot of uncertainty. So I think most of us have become very good at being agile and adaptive and changing in the marketplace. So we're all having to do that.
So AI continues to be your number one priority?
I wouldn't say it's a number one, but it's up there.
It's up there.
It's up there.
Yeah.
It's up there.
And how are you industrializing AI into the enterprise? How are you redoing your plumb lines across your tech stack, leveraging AI, Gen AI, and agentic AI? So.
Look, I think everything you have just talked about for last hour or so, I kind of smiling. I'm going, well, we do that with Cognizant. We do that with Cognizant. We do a little of that with Cognizant. So we've got the whole spectrum over the course of our 19-year relationship, which has evolved and grown and absolutely changed over the years, right, on the types of services we buy. But when I think about the priorities, first, you have to constantly have to modernize your systems. So there's always a portion of our investment that's going towards that, and you're helping us with that. We won't get off of all of our legacy systems probably in my lifetime, but there's a goal to get there, right? So you're constantly having to do that. Second, you're constantly digitizing. And so when I think about that, it is front to back. How are you constantly making the experience for our clients, whether they be a consumer or an institutional investor, they want a digital experience, and they want it to be as easy as their favorite app that they have on their mobile phone. And so we have to continue to work on that, making self-service really simple for all of our clients in the various segments. Payments is a huge part of our business, so constantly investing, trying to figure out how do we make those investment products stickier, and that's all done through technology, making it easier for our clients. And then when you talk about data, Cognizant, I'm really proud of this. Cognizant has been on our data journey with us for the 13 years I've been at Key. And actually, when I visit India, we still have people on our data effort, our data supply chain, we call it, who have been with us since the beginning of our journey, who are still on our journey there and help us run our data foundation, as you just heard Naveen talk about. But that data is now so much more valuable to us, and it is the fuel for the AI. It is the fuel for generative AI. It is the fuel for taking the robotics work that we started together 8 years ago, and now thinking about how do we agentify that work. And so I think there's so much more ahead of us to do. I will also say, though, we have to work together to figure out what's the business value. It's not tech for tech's sake. It's how do I create value for the enterprise using these technologies.
And first of all, thank you for long-standing strategic partnership, 19 years. And talking about that business value, how are you tracking that, or how are you measuring that value?
We're in the infant stages, as you know. So we have about 20 proof of concepts going on right now with generative AI. Now, in financial services, we've used AI for decades, right? We've used advanced analytics. We've used artificial intelligence. We've used some machine learning for decades. We're good at it in certain areas, right? We're good at it in credit and financials. But when you think about taking it to replace some of your workloads, your operations, or really enabling decisions to be made faster, that gets a little harder, and say, how are you going to prove the value? Where's the business value? But there's got to be that discipline, because if not, you're going to see that one chart I think someone talked about where CIOs get concerned about cost. So as your tech costs go up, you better be producing value, because the CEO is then going to come around and say, hey, your tech costs are going up and my revenues haven't kept pace with that. So you're constantly having to evaluate that, and we're being very disciplined to make sure that that happens.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say that. I've been talking to some of our clients. They view this in two dimensions, inside out and outside in, the investments that they're making in AI. The one dimension is, the benefits that it serves them, or it serves a client like you, or it serves KeyBank in terms of unlocking the productivity, or driving the revenue growth, or improving the balance sheet and things like that. The other dimension is, what does it mean to your end clients? What does it mean to your consumer who walks into your banking center at the teller?
Right.
So how do you?
Yeah, so I would say, now this is Key's position, and I would say, in a regulated industry, we don't want to go really fast with putting some kind of agent out there that'll make a decision for the client and offer that up without any human in the loop. I think we've got a lot of proving to do, and there's lots of opportunities to deploy this technology for value without having to go there first. I think we'll get there over time, but I don't think we need to go there first. Plenty of opportunities where we've got manual processes, whether they be in my tech shop or our operations shop. And all of that, ultimately, if you can automate that and make it smarter and better, make it easier for our clients to do their work. We also, I think, can use these technologies to make our relationship managers smarter, really arm them. Again, going back to, we've been on the data journey. We moved our data to the cloud in 2019. We moved off of Hadoop in 2022 with your help and moved to Google Cloud. So our data's there, we have the speed, but are we using it to really present it to our clients at the time that they need it the most? That's where I think that opportunity is there.
And while you do that, how are you managing change, or how are you doing the change management with your workforce?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge investment. We've started something many years ago called Future Ready in my organization, where we take time to train our people and retrain, and are constantly investing in the training. And we use partners like you to do that with us, which is extremely helpful, because as a financial institution, I can't have the best in every one of these disciplines that we need, but we have to have a few of them. And so we absolutely have to invest in reskilling our people, whether that be technologists, or we're going to need less lockbox agents, or less contact center agents, but we want those people who know our processes and our clients to have opportunities in other parts of the institution.
And Amy, you have heard this afternoon, and in fact, you're very aware that Cognizant has spent or pledged about $1 billion of investment into AI over the last couple of years, and we are continuing to invest.
And we plan on taking advantage of that.
And we have built, the infrastructure, as you have seen, the AI labs, and you know Babak very well. So we have more than 25 PhDs doing constant research. We have 54 patents, and we have built these platforms, and we are building these industry-specific solutions. As a client, how would you see this? What's your reflection on?
I think one of the things when I first saw Babak, and you all get to meet him in a moment, but when I first saw him and he talked about agentifying your enterprise, he did it, one, you can tell he knows what the heck he's talking about, he's brilliant, but two, he did it in a way that the average enterprise user could consume the information. And what really sparked my interest was we have about 400 bots running today who have IDs as employees in our system, right? So they are doing tasks every day somewhere in my enterprise. A large amount of them are in our operations team. But they are task-based bots. They're not smart. They're not decisioning. What I saw was the ability to take those bots and really take it to the next level. Now to do that, we need the data. We need the intelligent people like Babak and others to help us build from where we are to that next level. How do we make ourselves smarter? And so I think there's a great opportunity there.
I mean, talking about agents and bots, last week, Jensen at NVIDIA Tech Conference, he was referring to, the IT organizations of the enterprises potentially morphing into semi-HR roles.
Yeah.
And it's interesting he said that. He said that, these IT leaders will have to select agents, train agents, manage agents, and pay agents like, any HR organization would do. So how are you envisioning this agent-centric
True, and I don't think we should underestimate. There's also another level of you need to monitor the agent's performance, and you need to understand when something in that value stream changes, are you retraining your agent? And that is not insignificant as you deploy all of this to remember. So honestly, as a CIO, I remember when I first started, it was like simplify your system, simplify your ecosystem. Our ecosystems have gotten more and more complex, and quite frankly, I think they will continue to do so. And so it's how do you build the intelligence around even your IT ecosystem? You're not just with one cloud provider, you're with multiple SaaS providers, you're on-prem, you've got all of these things interacting all the time. And by the way, you have to have 99.99% availability 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that has to get smart too.
Right. And any AI conversation is not complete without talking about the risk and the guardrails that one needs to. So how is KeyBank managing that? What's your perspective on that?
I would say we're learning. Again, I would go back to, I think certain industries maybe have an advantage where they're not as highly regulated as financial services. Our legal and compliance are really struggling with some of this autonomy of some of these tools and what does that mean? And so I think we're trying to walk our way into it without sprinting and getting ahead of those groups as well. So we've all got to learn together.
Well, thank you, Amy. And you know what? Since you mentioned about Babak and he knows what he does, so here is the deal for you. So he's gonna create agents on the fly for the KeyBank for a business problem that you're gonna give him.
And I'm getting this for free.
How are you getting it for free? And Amy, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for the long-standing partnership.